This next episode, though, is I think something that's a little bit closer to your heart.
Oh, my privy dig.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a group of friends in DC that are really into digging up privies and finding things in them, and they've done several neighbors' yards before, and I always drag my feet because my yard was finished and I didn't want it made a mess of. But there was a tree there and it kept growing, and I wanted to move things around, and I had a dog digging in the yard, and it seemed like a good opportunity.
Well, I went back, looked at the episode again, and gave it a little bit different of an edit. Here, why don't you take a look? We are here in our producer's backyard, actually, and you're doing something interesting. And what is that you're doing?
We are looking for old bottles and a little bit of the material culture of Fells Point in Baltimore.
Now, you're digging in the backyard, but I had heard that there's a specific thing you're digging in.
You want me to cut to the chase?
Cut to the chase.
All right. Effectively, up until about 1900, every house in Baltimore had a privy. And what we're doing is digging out the old privy, the old outhouse. And in this situation, down in Fells Point, they go back to the 1700s, and we find relics and bottles in them up until the turn of the century.
Now, if you could take just a moment and kind of do a little overview about what you did today here in this backyard.
Okay. What we did today is that as a group we invaded Jackie's backyard at her invitation. What we did is we actually cleaned up the yard, pulled up areas that she wanted to get renovated. And then I used, a number of us, we used a probe to figure out the dimensions of this privy, and also a second privy over there, figure out the dimensions.
Okay.
And then we cleaned up the yard, tarped it to make it nice and neat. We brought in a bunch of buckets, and we slowly excavated with shovels, and then we switched to tools that were less, wouldn't do damage to the bottles and other artifacts. And we recorded everything with our cameras too as we're going down, and we excavated it all.
Ebony list with ivory on top, with 2 brass nails to hold.
And then we're putting it back and tamping it down, and it actually, we hope, it'll look better than when we started. Most yards have at least 2 of them.
Okay.
In the yards. Pretty typical for this part of Fells Point is that they're square boxes. They would have been wood lined, and this one was only about 5 feet deep. They'll go as deep as 7 feet, sometimes even deeper.
Now, when you're looking, are you able to, I'm assuming a lot of the wood is probably rotted away, but are you able to still see the structure that was used to be there?
The answer is yes. We do see the structure. The wood is rotted off, but we can actually discern sort of a different texture and color when you hit the wood walls. And the other thing is that the roots from all the plants around here will go down and try to eat away at all of the wood walls, and when you're digging, you can actually find sort of a web of roots that tells you when you hit the edge of a privy, that's made of wood.
Why would a privy hold relics in it?
The primary reason is sort of a combination of lack of regular sanitation pickup, and this is the easiest big hole for you to throw your trash in.
Oh, okay.
But mixed in was pottery, which survives very well, different kinds of ceramics, so they could be stoneware, it could be transferware. The other thing that you often find are glass vessels, so that could be any kind, so they could be bottles, they could be jars, they could be cups.
Huh.
And the bottles, what's remarkable about them is oftentimes they're embossed. Here's one. Mike has handed me one. This one is a bottle called C.A. Cole and Company. It's called a 10-pin soda. And at the top, you can see it says Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
And then it has the address, number 118 North Howard Street.
So they would mark every bottle with an address?
These were return, so deposit and then return. And you would get return on deposit.
And you have to bring it back to the store you got it from.
The story is that the contents of the bottle might be 3 cents, but the bottle is worth a penny.
Huh.
So, there was really incentive to bring it back. We sort of focus on houses that predate 1870s so that we can have a shot at finding bottles like this. We're interested in the whole story that comes out of this. And one of the things, a lot of us are members of the Baltimore Bottle Club and the Potomac Bottle Club out of Washington, D.C. And between those two clubs, there's a pretty prolific number of writers who write stories about what they're finding. And
really?
There's a huge group of people who also do a lot of research and can sort of trace the history of manufacturers and where they were located and when they were located.
Okay.
And Mike here, I don't know if you can see him, but he has a large collection related to Washington, D.C. in terms of soda bottles of this nature, and he's really pieced together a remarkable timeline that tells the story of beer manufacturers and soda manufacturers in Washington, D.C.
Really?
From its earliest inception. It's an adventure to try to find what's here, but it's also about, I think, a mutual respect for the history that's been here and sort of wanting to have a connection with the past. I mean, history is very ephemeral. And when you're digging something that's coming out of the ground that hasn't seen the light of day in 160 years, to me, it's a remarkable feeling. And I think I speak for everybody here. That's why we're here.
I can imagine that. Now, is it glass bottle or is it something else? Because it's got a weird, shine to it.
The iridescence that's on there is the degradation of the surface of the glass.
Okay.
And that would be a product of the minerals in the ground. There's a lot of coal ash that would be in here.
Okay.
It was an outhouse.
Well, so, there would be other materials too that would...
your forms of uric acid, right?
Yeah.
would be pretty active on the surface of the bottle. But what happens is that glass was less pure, and it really gets impacted differently, and you get this nice iridescence.
Well, it is. It's got a really nice look to it.
Yeah. We've dug a lot of holes, and these, I've only heard of maybe 100 of these being dug over the last decade.
So you found, 2 there. Did you find any more?
How many more do we have? I think 4 more.
Wow.
We'll go do some more research, but there was most likely some sort of business proprietor here.
Okay.
And be it some sort of food place or a cat house or any number of things. And I think that people cared a little less about return on deposit.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know that my producer might now live in a house of ill repute. It's really quite amazing where you find history. Who knew a backyard privy would hold archaeological information about the area you live in, about your house, what it could have been in the past?
That was much better. I liked the added graphics. Didn't like so much the House of Ill Repute.
Why not?
I have a history expert that says that was next door.
Just keep telling yourself that. But your privy says something else. But anyway, I want to thank you. That was a lot of fun. I actually want to go on more digs.
You're going to have to dress for it.
You don't think the tie would work?
And you'll have to film it if you do it again.
I will. I'll definitely film it.